Good morning. My name is Robert DeGaramore, and this is being recorded for Dr. Mary Ogden's class, History 901, the start of our dissertations. First of all, I want to tell you all that I love history. I absolutely love numismatics. It's the study of coins. American coins have always had a fascination for me. Actually, I wanted to start off by showing you this one. This was minted in 1804. It's a Liberty dollar. So when this was minted, Thomas Jefferson was the President of the United States. I wanted to do something in my dissertation that had to do with numismatics and the mints and that created the currencies and stuff, but I found that it was going to be too difficult and too widespread. So I narrowed my gap down, and I've been finding some very, very interesting stuff available online through various medium sources that are talking about how we had 13 different bills of credit, 13 different accounting, 13 different fiscal policies that are all consolidated in 1787 under our Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 5, that basically put all those currencies together and created the U.S. dollar as our monetary system for the United States. Very fascinating story, finding all sorts of opposing opinions. I mean, we're talking about the Constitution here, whether it's implied or if it's literal. This is a Adams versus Jefferson headbutt. Finding some really interesting stuff out there. First of all, Gordon Wood, he did a whole dissertation on the creation of the American Republic, 1776 to 1787, where he alludes to some of the financial issues that were at hand. It's backed up again with Charles Beard. Dr. Beard was pretty much a realist. He's really a guy that I identify with because he's saying, listen, the Constitution was set up to protect the interest. This is a republic. It's not a democracy. And the delegates that were at that meeting were discussing how they were going to protect their financial interests, basically. And they came up with these ideas of a currency based on the thaler, which is the dollar, which is a Spanish real. So most of our influence on the bimetallic currency is actually going to come from Spain. It's not going to come from England. It's an interesting story, and as we delve into it, we're seeing a lot of historiography as far as the interpretations of how those monies came together and how they were interacted and how they economically formed. We're having a real headbutt, quite honestly, between economists and historians. Ron Michener is his name, University of Virginia. He's strongly suggesting there's a literary side of all this. And he's suggesting history of people. And he suggests that, like, you go to the grocery store and you have a pocket full of coins and you dump them in the machine, and whatever the balance comes out, you stick your credit card in, and that makes the balance. People will always become the most efficient means, and they'll use their money the most efficient way possible. And that's historically accurate. You and I go to the grocery store, can't pay for everything, or you'll put the tip in cash, and then you use your debit card for the rest of the meal, that type of thing. And he's saying that, Pennsylvania, if you're going from Pennsylvania to Maryland, there was a currency exchange. Or if you're using partial of your payment in British pound, that's okay. And there's all of these empirical studies of how and what the value of the dollar was at the time. A couple that I look into, there's Grubb Farley versus this Michener. Grubb Farley's actually Northwestern economist, and he is absolutely ripping on Michener's ideas as far as interconnectivity of the colonies and their currencies, which I find is kind of interesting as an economist is getting involved in this. And he's saying that, no, the inflationary was always against the British pound. And Michener's saying, no, it wasn't. It was a necessity, what you did to survive financially. And the economists are coming up with these no, this inflation was actually what started the revolution in the first place. It wasn't a bunch of of people that were just disgruntled with British, the British monarchy. He says it was basically a financial problem that they had to solve, and they wanted to not be taxed, and they wanted to use Spanish real as their currency. They didn't really want to use British pounds because the British were keeping coming back with these currency acts of 1751, currency act of 1764, etc. So there's lots of interesting stuff floating around like that. I wanted to finish this up with a good find. There's a guy by the name of William Graham Sumner, who is a Yale historian, sociologist, and he's the one that started pushing laissez-faire, and he also was pushing social Darwinism. Lo and behold, he wrote an entire book concerning the history of currencies of the United States, and I was kind of meandered down what he has to say about it, and I was just very surprised that someone who's an advocate for social Darwinism has his beginnings and his dissertations are written on finance. Anyway, so those are some of my new discoveries, and this is my new toy as far as sharing information. I appreciate it. Have a good day.